So what if the ultimate test of your integrity wasn't, fighting off your worst enemies,
Right.
but instead it was willingly drinking a cup of poison handed to you by your own family?
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
And what if you did it with a smile? Not out of weakness, but as this calculated move to save an entire kingdom.
It just sounds completely counterintuitive to how we operate today.
Exactly. I mean, our modern sensibilities are totally wired to fight back. We want to defend our egos, expose the people who wrong us.
Oh, absolutely. We assume that yielding means losing.
Right. But what if our obsession with defending ourselves is exactly what destroys the things we care about most? That high-stakes psychological dilemma is the starting point for our deep dive today.
It really flips the script, doesn't it,
Hmm.
on how we view power and self-preservation. Because sometimes holding your ground is what actually burns the house down.
Spot on. And today we are immersing ourselves in the world of the legendary Indian writer Premchand.
Yes, such an incredible voice.
Specifically, we're exploring excerpts from his collection, Mansarovar Part 6. And our mission in this deep dive is to unpack these masterfully woven tales, not just as historical artifacts.
Right, there's so much more than that.
Yeah, they're basically raw case studies in human behavioral economics. We are looking at, timeless truths about honor, the destructive nature of greed, and the surprising power of human integrity.
Because while these stories are rooted in historical India, Premchand is really acting as a master psychologist here.
He is. And the dilemmas these characters face are incredibly relevant to the choices you make every single day in your career, your relationships, your community.
That is the genius of Premchand. I mean, he strips away the illusion that technological or institutional modernization automatically equals moral progress.
Ah, that's such a good point.
He uses these very specific cultural moments to map out universal human frailties. You see exactly what happens when the human ego collides with societal pressure.
So let's start by looking at this idea of modernization and what it actually means to belong somewhere. You brought a fascinating story to the table to kick us off.
I did. It's this story called Ya Meri Mathrubhumi Hai, which translates to This is my motherland.
Okay.
And the premise centers on a 90-year-old man who has been living in America for 60 years.
60 years, wow.
Yeah, a lifetime. And he is incredibly successful by all modern metrics. He has massive wealth, a beautiful family. He lives in absolute comfort.
The dream, basically.
Exactly. But as he nears the end of his life, he develops this singular burning desire. He just wants to go back to his rural Indian village and essentially become the dust of his motherland.
Wow.
He leaves everything behind for this idealized romantic vision of his youth.
I think anyone listening can relate to that pull, the idea of returning to your roots, looking for that idyllic paradise you remember from your childhood.
Oh, for sure.
You picture the streams, the specific trees you used to climb.
The carefree neighbors, yes. But when he actually gets off the train in his old village, he is hit with a crushing reality.
Oh, no. What happens?
Well, the physical markers of his past, like the old banyan tree where he used to play, the communal wrestling ground, they're just gone.
Completely wiped out.
Completely. In their place, he finds barbed wire fences,
Yeah.
armed guards.
Yikes.
The village now boasts a post office, a police station, and a courthouse.
Which, on paper, that sounds like development. It sounds like progress.
On paper, yes. But the psychological impact is devastating. He looks at the villagers, expecting to see the robust, carefree people of his memories.
Right.
Instead, they look anxious. They look weak. They're completely burdened by worldly anxieties, property disputes, legal troubles.
That is so sad.
The old man is so disillusioned that he literally breaks down crying in the street. He's shouting that this feels like Europe or America. To him, this isn't his beloved India anymore.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, though.
Go for it.
Is it possible he is just experiencing extreme, stubborn nostalgia? It sounds a bit like someone going back to their old high school and throwing a temper tantrum because they replaced the dusty chalkboards with smartboards.
Right.
Things change, Is Premchand just romanticizing the past here? Or is there a deeper critique about structural modernization actually stripping away a community's soul?
That is a totally fair question.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to dismiss him as just a grumpy, nostalgic old man.
Yeah.
But if we dig into the mechanism of what Premchand is critiquing, it's not really about the technology itself.
Okay, what is it about?
It's about the shift from a trust-based community to a transactional, fear-based society.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
The institutions of law, order, and commerce have arrived, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't brought peace. They've brought bureaucracy and anxiety.
So the physical infrastructure improved,
Yeah,
but the social fabric frayed.
exactly. Completely frayed. People are no longer neighbors. They are plaintiffs and defendants.
That is a heavy shift. He went looking for a feeling of connection, and he basically collided with a rigid institution. It really asks you to think about what actually makes your own community feel like home. Is it the property values and the new coffee shops, or is it how people actually interact with each other?
Precisely. And Premchand provides this beautiful resolution to this tension.
Oh, I love this part.
So, in the dead of night, the old man is sitting by the river in absolute despair.
Mm-hmm.
He's ready to just give up and buy a ticket straight back to America.
He's totally defeated.
Yeah. But then he hears a sound in the distance.
This is my favorite scene in the text.
It's so good. It's a group of elderly women walking together in the early hours to bathe in the river Ganges. And as they walk, they're singing a traditional hymn,
Wow.
Hamare Prabhu Avagunchit Nadaro, which essentially means, Our Lord, do not take our faults to heart.
And that just completely breaks him open, right?
It is the ultimate turning point.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, he realizes that true belonging isn't geographical. It isn't tied to physical landmarks that can be bulldozed or fields that get fenced off with barbed wire. The physical space was conquered by modernization, but the cultural song survived.
He hears that hymn, he is overcome with emotion, he strips off his Western clothes, and he just wades into the river.
Yes.
He finally feels like he has found his true motherland. It wasn't in the courthouses or the police stations. It was in that shared, timeless vibration.
Beautifully put.
It is a profound realization for anyone who feels displaced in the modern world. Your home isn't necessarily a GPS coordinate. It's the shared practices and values you carry with you.
Which, honestly, perfectly transitions us to our next source.
Let's do it.
Because if the old man's story is about trying to find the social fabric, Premchand also shows us how quickly that fabric can be torn apart from the inside.
Right. We are moving from the loss of a physical home to the absolute destruction of a family.
Yeah, it gets dark.
And this is where we get back to that crazy hook from the beginning of our deep dive. You brought us the historical tragedy of Raja Hardaul.
Yes, so this explores a completely different kind of cultural anchor. We are in the kingdom of Orcha.
Okay.
King Juhar Singh is away on a long military campaign, so he leaves his younger brother, Hardaul, to rule in his absence.
A classic setup.
And by all accounts, Hardaul is an exceptional leader.
Yeah.
He's brave, and people of the kingdom absolutely adore him.
But then a crisis hits.
Naturally.
A legendary, undefeated wrestler named Qadir Khan comes all the way from Delhi to challenge the warriors of Orcha. And this isn't just a sporting event, right? In this historical context, this is a matter of immense civic pride and political legitimacy.
Exactly. And Orcha is losing badly.
Right.
Their best fighters are being systematically dismantled by Qadir Khan. Ouch. The kingdom's honor is visibly crumbling in front of the people. So Hardaul realizes that as the acting ruler, he has to step up and defend his people's pride.
He has to get in the ring.
Yeah. But to win, he needs a very specific weapon, his older brother's personal sword.
Oh.
So he goes to his sister-in-law, Queen Kulina, and borrows the king's sword. Hardaul fights Qadir Khan, he wins miraculously, and he saves the kingdom's honor.
The entire city must be ecstatic.
Oh, they are thrilled. But then King Shujar returns from his military campaign. And this is where the story shifts from a heroic epic into a really dark, claustrophobic, psychological thriller.
I mean, the king comes home, and naturally there's a massive celebratory dinner.
Right.
Queen Kulina is overjoyed to have her husband back, so she insists on cooking the meal herself. But in the rush and excitement of the kitchen, she makes a simple, entirely innocent household mistake.
A tiny mistake.
She accidentally serves Hardaul his meal on a gold plate and serves the king his meal on a silver plate.
A seemingly insignificant swap. A pure accident.
But the king notices.
He does. And instead of brushing it off or, laughing about it, this tiny slight sparks an intense, irrational jealousy.
It's crazy.
His ego is so fragile that his mind immediately jumps to the worst possible conclusion. He assumes that because Hardaul used his personal sword while he was away and is now getting the gold plate at dinner.
He connects those dots.
Exactly. He thinks there must be a romantic affair going on between his brother and his wife. He is entirely consumed by this paranoid suspicion.
And he doesn't just ask them about it. He forces Queen Kulina to poison Hardaul's food.
Which is horrifying.
This is where I struggle with the story, honestly, and I really need you to unpack this for me.
Okay.
Hardaul finds out the food is poisoned. He knows his brother is trying to murder him over a paranoid delusion. But instead of fighting back, instead of exposing his brother's absolute madness to the people who already love him, Hardaul just drinks the poison with a peaceful smile.
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself to prove his innocence? Honestly, that feels like a terrible strategy. Doesn't that just leave a paranoid, jealous tyrant in charge of the kingdom? Why not just fight back?
From a modern individualistic perspective, it absolutely looks like passive victimization. It looks like he is just letting the bully win. But to understand the mechanism here, we really have to look at the cultural concept of Maryada.
Maryada, what does that mean exactly?
It translates roughly to honor, boundaries, and social propriety. But it's much deeper than just, having good manners. Maryada is the invisible social contract that holds an entire society together.
So it's the glue of their civilization.
Precisely. Think about the political reality here. Hardaul is universally beloved.
True.
The king is showing himself to be unstable. If Hardaul refuses the poison and fights back, what happens?
He sparks a civil war.
A massive civil war. The kingdom of Orcha fractures. Thousands of innocent people die, and neighboring kingdoms would likely use the chaos to invade and conquer them entirely.
So this isn't just about a dinner plate.
Yeah,
it's about institutional stability. It's almost like a geopolitical calculation.
Exactly. Hardaul's willing death isn't a defeat, it is a tactical sacrifice. It is the ultimate triumph of duty and familial love over petty, paranoid suspicion. He absorbs the poison of his brother's ego so that the kingdom doesn't have to. He refuses to let his brother's toxicity corrupt his own integrity or tear the state apart. He maintained his Maryada to the very end.
That completely changes how I view the story. It asks you, the listener, to really look at your own life. How often do we let minor perceived slights like an unreturned email, a weird look in a meeting, someone getting credit for a project you worked on destroy our relationships?
All the time.
We are so quick to blow up the kingdom to protect our own egos over a metaphorical silver plate. Premchand is holding up a mirror to the devastating collateral damage of unchecked insecurity.
He really is. And if ego is one poison, Premchand immediately pivots to show us another.
Oh boy.
Because while Hardaul sacrificed his life to maintain the social fabric, Premchand introduces us to characters who eagerly rip that fabric apart for something much, much cheaper.
Material wealth and social status.
Exactly.
This brings us to a really compelling contrast between two of his stories, Abhushan, which means ornaments, and Amavasya Kiratri, which is the night of the new moon.
Yes.
Let's look at the obsession with status in Abhushan first.
Okay, so here we meet a woman named Shitala. She attends a wedding and sees a wealthy bride draped in incredible, expensive jewelry.
Okay.
And Shitala becomes completely upset. It's not just that she wants nice things, right? The gold becomes a proxy for her self-worth.
It becomes her entire identity.
It consumes her entirely. She constantly berates her husband, Vimal, making him feel so economically inadequate that he literally flees his own home.
He just leaves.
He runs away to Rangoon, which at the time meant subjecting himself to grueling, backbreaking manual labor in horrific conditions.
He lives in absolute squalor for years just to save enough money to buy gold for her to wear. That is insane.
Yes. And meanwhile, while he is gone, Shitala is left entirely vulnerable back home. Without the social and physical protection of her husband's presence, she is nearly exploited by a predatory local landlord.
Oh, wow.
It takes this terrifying near disaster for her to realize that her husband's actual life, his presence, and his partnership was her true wealth.
The gold was an illusion that almost cost her everything.
Exactly.
And I want the listener to think about the modern equivalent of this, because it happens every day.
100%.
How many people today destroy their actual quality of life, taking on massive, crippling debt just to project the illusion of wealth on Instagram?
Too many.
We sacrifice our peace of mind and sometimes our marriages just to buy the modern equivalent of Shitala's ornaments. We throw away the real thing in pursuit of an arbitrary social marker.
It is the absolute tragedy of external validation. And if we think the pursuit of status is dark, Amavasya Kiratri takes the destructive nature of money to a systemic level.
Yeah, this one is tough.
We move from a wife wanting jewelry to a desperate fight for survival.
This story is devastating. We have a desperately poor man, Pandit Devdutt. His wife, Girija, is dying.
Right.
It happens to be the night of Diwali, the festival of lights and wealth, but Devdutt's life is in total, suffocating darkness. In his desperation, he goes to the home of a wealthy, highly educated doctor, Hakim Shankaradas.
A highly respected man.
Right. Devdat begs the Hakim to come treat his dying wife.
But the Hakim flatly refuses to step foot out of his house without his exorbitant fee paid in cash, up front.
Unbelievable. Devdat is absolutely crushed. He runs back home, and in pure despair, he starts burning his ancestors' old debt ledgers to keep the lamp lit.
Which is such a powerful image.
Yeah. These ledgers represent money owed to his family generations ago, but they are completely worthless to him now. But right at that moment, a man knocks on the door.
This part is wild.
The man's grandfather owed Devdat's grandfather 2,500 rupees, and with decades of interest, it has grown to an astronomical 75,000 rupees.
A fortune.
The man, out of a sense of deep ancestral duty, pays the entire debt in cash, right there on the spot.
It's a miraculous, almost unbelievable stroke of fortune in the darkest possible moment.
So Devdat grabs the cash, runs back to the Hakim's house, and practically throws the money at him. And the Hakim, seeing the cash, finally agrees to go.
Yep.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here with the Hakim.
Yeah, do it.
We villainize this doctor, but isn't he just running a business? Doctors today have massive student loans. They have overhead. They have malpractice insurance.
Right.
In our modern healthcare system, if you don't pay your premium or your copay, you don't get the treatment. Why is the Hakim uniquely evil here for just wanting to be paid for his highly specialized expertise?
It's a brilliant question, because that is the exact uncomfortable parallel Premchand wants us to draw.
Okay, so why does it feel so wrong?
The mechanism here is the commodification of empathy. In this specific historical and cultural context, a Hakim wasn't just a service provider with a medical degree.
What were they?
The ability to heal was viewed as a sacred, life-saving gift, a form of divine grace flowing through the doctor.
Ah, so it's a moral obligation, not just a contractual one.
Precisely. By refusing to exercise that sacred gift to save a dying woman without guaranteed financial compensation, the Hakim's absolute greed extinguishes his fundamental humanity. He takes something holy and makes it transactional. Premchand is challenging us to look at how societal markers of success, whether it's Shitala's gold jewelry or the Hakim's exorbitant fees, blind us to basic human empathy.
The Hakim might be incredibly rich, but his soul is completely bankrupt.
Yes.
And the ultimate tragedy is that even though Devdat gets the money, it's too late. The story implies the delay cost his wife her life. The currency of human suffering is completely devalued by the pursuit of literal currency.
It really is. So it begs the question, right? If society is this easily corrupted by greed, by ego, by this relentless pursuit of status, how do we navigate it?
Are we just doomed?
Right. Are we doomed to be either the victim like Devdat or the villain like the Hakim?
Thankfully, Premchand doesn't just diagnose the illness, he actually offers us some remedies.
And they are fascinating.
He gives us two distinct models for fighting back against a broken system: unyielding personal integrity and, surprisingly enough, productive rivalry.
Let's unpack unyielding personal integrity first, through the story of Durgnath. He is a poor but highly principled manager working for a zamindar, which is a powerful, wealthy landlord.
Got it.
The zamindar is trying to illegally extort his tenant farmers, and he orders Durgnath to go to court and give false testimony to help the zamindar win the case.
Oh, man. It's the ultimate toxic workplace dilemma.
Seriously.
The boss tells the subordinate to cross a major moral line, assuming that the employee's economic desperation will force them to comply. We see this in modern corporate scandals all the time.
We really do. But Durgnath refuses. He decides he would rather resign, lose his income, and face poverty than lie under oath and destroy the tenants.
He just walks away.
He walks away. But Premchand gives us an incredible twist. The tenant farmers find out what Durgnath did for them.
Oh, this is so good.
They are so deeply moved by his honesty, by the fact that a manager actually threw away his own livelihood to protect them, that they voluntarily gather all their owed money and bring it to the zamindar.
I love this because it proves that integrity isn't just a nice moral idea, it is actually a highly effective practical strategy. The zamindar's tyranny and threats couldn't squeeze a dime out of the tenants. But Durgnath's fairness and sacrifice yielded the exact economic result the zamindar wanted, but it happened through voluntary, inspired cooperation.
It completely subverts the cynical assumption that ruthless tactics are the only way to achieve results in the real world. Durgnath proves that integrity disarms people.
It builds deep trust.
And trust is infinitely more efficient than coercion.
Which brings us to the final and honestly the most hilarious strategy in the collection, the story called Lagat.
Oh, I love this one.
It explores how rivalry can accidentally save a community. Keep your vegan farm analogy ready because it perfectly explains this dynamic.
Let's set it up first. Lagat is a brilliant piece of behavioral psychology. We have two bitter hereditary enemies living in a village,
Yeah.
Jokopaget and Bishan Chatari.
Okay.
Their families have been feuding for generations, completely dividing the village into two hostile camps. One day, one of them decides to preach absolute loyalty to the British colonial government, framing it as the ultimate civic virtue.
And naturally, just to counter him, the other rival starts preaching self-rule, boycotts, and Indian independence.
But the joke is, neither of them actually cares deeply about the politics.
No, they just want to crush each other in a public popularity contest.
Exactly. They fiercely compete to be seen as the most virtuous, the most persuasive, and the most morally upright leader.
Right.
In their relentless, petty effort to outdo one another, they start preaching against drinking. They start preaching against corruption.
They're just trying to one-up each other.
Yes. They tell people to stop settling disputes in the corrupt courts and to solve them peacefully at home.
Yeah.
And completely by accident, these two bitter rivals uplift the entire village's political and moral consciousness.
This is where the analogy perfectly fits the mechanism. It is exactly like two rival massive fast food chains trying to outcompete each other.
Oh, this is great.
Right. One introduces a slightly healthier salad, so the other one removes artificial colors. Then the first one goes entirely free range. Until suddenly, out of pure petty spite, they both accidentally transform into organic vegan farms.
Exactly.
The underlying motivation was selfish rivalry, but the systemic outcome was incredibly positive.
It's a hilarious observation of human nature. But the real emotional payoff of Lagat is the conclusion.
How does it end?
Because as these two rivals watch the village actually improve, as they see their neighbors stop drinking, stop fighting, and start supporting each other, the reality of the good they have done actually begins to change their own hearts.
Oh, wow.
Moved by the positive transformation they accidentally created, these two bitter enemies finally embrace, ending generations of feuding.
That's beautiful. The act of pretending to be good leaders actually turned them into good leaders. It created a ripple effect that fixed a broken system.
As we synthesize all these sources today, it becomes incredibly clear that Premchand stories aren't just historical folklore.
Not at all.
They're uncomfortable mirrors held up to our own behavioral choices.
They really are. Whether we are looking at the 90-year-old man realizing that true belonging is a shared cultural song rather than a physical place.
Or Hardaul, making the ultimate agonizing sacrifice to protect the social fabric from his brother's toxic ego.
Or Shatala and the Hakim, showing us how the pursuit of external validation and absolute greed can completely bankrupt our humanity.
Right up to Durgnath, proving the practical power of integrity, and those two stubborn rivals accidentally saving their village.
The core insight connecting all of these narratives remains exactly the same. Our true wealth is our character, and our ultimate security is our connection to one another.
Knowledge like this is only valuable when you apply it to your own context. Premchand is asking you, the listener, to actively evaluate your own motivations.
Right.
When you face pressure in your workplace or conflict in your family, are you demanding the Hakim's exorbitant fee, or are you operating with Durgnath's unyielding integrity?
Are you willing to burn down the kingdom over a silver plate, or are you protecting the people around you?
It requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves.
It does, and it brings us right back to that opening image of returning home. We want to leave you with a final provocative thought to ponder today.
Yes.
If you had to leave your life, your home, and your community behind for 60 years, what is the one intangible cultural song you would need to hear to know that you are finally back where you belong?
That's a powerful question.
And more importantly, are you actively helping to sing that song for others today?